What's up, numbers? Day 2 of San Diego Comic-Con. We are here again to talk about another panel that we were part of. We got to check out. It was really, really exciting panel.
This one was good.
I am really surprised, and we talked about Sony. Sony was a little bit of a wash, unfortunately. Not a strong
wet
panel.
noodle.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, my hype went up a little bit.
Yes.
Venom stayed the same.
Yes.
After the panel.
Yes.
Bumblebee.
Yes.
Hype increased.
Yeah. Yes.
Hype increased.
Surprise
increased.
of the night.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I was really. I think for me personally, we've talked about the Michael Bay Transformers movies
Ad nauseum.
They are.
There's no need.
To sum up, they are devoid of heart.
They are poop. They are straight poop.
And Michael Bay's fine with that, but they are devoid of heart.
They're great action movies.
If you think of Transformers as something that's like, well, who cares? It shouldn't have heart.
Yeah.
Transformers shouldn't have heart. There are people that really care about those G1 designs. You've seen Transformers Prime. That shit made us cry.
Yeah, I know.
Fantastic.
And I cared for Bumblebee.
Yes.
Yeah. And everything that they presented here made me care for Bumblebee.
Yeah.
We saw footage. We'll talk about it later, but we saw footage in those first, the 5 minutes of the footage we saw.
Yeah.
I loved that more than anything Transformers that Michael Bay created ever. Like, I liked it more than even the first movie, which I didn't hate.
Yeah.
Like, I actually kind of enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
But the best parts of that movie,
the
Shia LaBeouf to Bumblebee relationship, is basically this whole movie.
It was the first. It was the 5 minutes of footage that we saw, and then there's going to be a whole rest of the movie to explore this. It's beautiful.
But Adam, how did this panel start?
Yeah, so this panel is moderated by Anthony Bresnikan from EW. He came out. The first person he brought out was Travis Knight, and I think
no. Before Anthony Bresnikan.
Ah, yes.
Came out.
What was the artist's name? I forgot.
I forget, but Cameron will know.
Cameron, you knew.
Who sings "You've Got the Touch"?
It was a straight up rock concert.
Shut up. No, get out.
All right, cool.
You've got the power.
Everyone in the comments is going to be screaming at us for not remembering.
Touch. Cameron, can you look that up for us real quick?
It was great, though. There was lasers.
Yes.
A lot of
neon.
neon.
I think that's the big thing to hit is what?
Stan
Bush. That's who it was.
Yeah. They brought out Stan Bush.
Sing live
Playing
with
live.
a guitar. Ripping it.
As they're showing us footage that had like 80s graphics as it went, it morphed into the footage from the movie.
Looks like the grid and all that
Bumblebee
sort of stuff.
went back to 80s stuff. You've got the power.
Me and Hector were clapping.
And I think that to me was the biggest takeaway was, okay, cool. Paramount realizes if you come to Hall H, kind of copy what Marvel does. Make it a theatrical experience.
Yep.
It's not about just coming there and being like, hey guys, we're here, we got the actors, we're going to show you some footage. Okay, thank you for coming, bye-bye.
Right.
It was very much like, let's put on a show.
Yep.
And to have that start with like an 80s style rock concert with these very 80s graphics, showing the Autobots and Decepticon logos, and then showing the Bumblebee logo, that was fun to me. It was like, it was a nice way to sort of intro the panel and say like, hey, let's have a good time and let's talk about this new iteration of Transformers and where we're going to go with this movie.
Right.
After that, Bresnikan came on. Anthony Bresnikan came on. He introduced Travis Knight, and I think it was a really good choice to introduce him as a 2-time Academy Award nominated director.
He introduced him as an Academy Award nominated director.
One.
And then Travis came out and was like, it's two Academy
Awards.
Awards.
We're going to put this on record. Let's make sure we're going to claim 2.
I agree.
But what I did love is that they showed this nice little featurette about Travis Knight.
That's right.
That's
the
how
director.
you do it.
That was great.
That's how you introduce people.
And they talk about Leica.
Yeah.
What does Leica do as an animation company, stop motion company?
Right.
You know, the movies that they created, Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings.
Paranorman, Box Trolls.
I absolutely adore and love Kubo and the Two Strings.
It's
one of my favorite movies that I've seen, stop motion movies that I've seen. And I think it was really appropriate to do that because I think it's really key to show the audience what differs the movie that they're trying to make now versus the other 4 or 5 Transformers movies we got before this.
Not just that, though. Animation directors get no hype. Like, the animation directors get no love.
They're the unsung heroes of animation.
Absolutely. Like, Travis Knight. Wait, that was his name, right? Travis Knight. Travis Knight is so under the radar at this point that you needed something like that to introduce him because people love these movies. Coraline, classic. Like Kubo and the Two Strings, classic. All that stuff to hype this guy up, and that's what you put on a show. Like, you introduce this guy. People love those movies. They never give a shit who is like they never stay for the credits, but now you know who he is, and now you realize that this movie has that person behind it, which you can attach yourself to.
They asked him, I love this question. They asked him, what makes you qualified as a live action director that you bring in from the animation world?
Yeah.
And
I'm like,
said,
bitch.
This is a great
What are
answer.
you? Oh my God! You don't understand what's going on.
He was like, all of the processes are the same.
Yeah.
The pre-production is the same as post-production is the same.
The pipeline is very
similar. Like the pipeline to making an animated movie versus live action. But he says live action is so much quicker.
Specifically, live action of this kind where it's a lot of visual effects.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what I loved. Well, first he goes, when you make a animated movie, if you're lucky, you can get within a week, you can get a page of stop motion. But with live action, within a day, you can get 4 pages. So it's a much quicker pace. But then he said, this is what I love. He says, we're talking to the animators. I'm talking to the animators who are doing Bumblebee the same way I talk to the animators for Leica.
Yes.
Right.
And they're like actors. You have to bring it up performance.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you
they
know
are
it?
actors.
He's trying to bring a performance out of one of these fucking robots for the first time. And a personality. And he goes, and the way he was speaking about it was almost foreign because he goes, we're going to learn about Bumblebee and who he is as a person, as a character, and what his like thoughts and feelings and motivations are. And I'm like, oh shit.
You're like, oh what?
We never had this in a Transformers movie.
I will say, I think the thing that really convinced me about this movie and really sort of made me invested into the story that they want to tell was hearing Travis Knight talk about how much it's important for them to really sort of really nail the characters, nail the relationships, and who are they and why.
Yeah.
And the fact, because he talks about, it's very much a story of adolescence.
Right.
The character that Haley Steinfeld plays, Charlie, she's very much coming into her own. She's a young 17-year-old high school kid.
She's turning 18
She's
day
turning
of.
18 day of, exactly.
Yep.
And it's sort of like that story of like, okay, what does this mean for a person, turning into an adult?
Yeah,
What comes next in life? And I think Bumblebee, he very much says Bumblebee is sort of the adolescent character of the Transformers.
Yeah.
He feels the most sort of kiddish.
Yeah.
And now he's in a world where he doesn't know anybody. He doesn't understand human beings.
Yep.
He's there on a mission. We don't really get to know too much about it.
We don't know
because I think they're trying to keep it secret, which is totally fair. But I loved hearing Travis talk about it. And he talks about it with such enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It genuinely, and I'm not saying that the movie is going to be this good, because it won't necessarily be, but I love what he was saying because it reminded me a lot of what Brad Bird used to say about the Iron Giant. About
you motherfucker.
I
knew that was...
Another thing that
you almost teared up at the footage.
Dude, I was on the verge of tears by the time.
Because it was beautiful.
When Bumblebee was in a little ball in the corner, I was like, this is what I want. Like, this is the connection that I want to make with
the audience was going, aw.
Yeah, exactly.
The audience what it does is it's exploring the feelings of the characters and like, they're both alien to each other,
right?
And like, how do they sort of like get comfortable with?
But this also snowballs into other things. Like he talked about the design of Bumblebee. He wanted him. He didn't want Bumblebee to feel like if Charlie touched him, she would get ground up in these gears because there's billions of moving parts.
So there's lots of soft,
complicated,
like
round. He said that. He said that Bumblebee is perfect to be a VW bug because you want to hug a VW bug because it's round and it's got corn.
It feels sort of friendly.
The bad guys that are muscle cars.
Yes.
And he revealed they're triple changers, which means they're muscle cars and then like a flying vehicle.
Jets.
The Decepticons, the 2 jets.
So
one of them voiced by Angela Bassett,
and the other one by Justin Theroux.
And
I'm like,
the 2 bad
let's
guys.
go.
It's like, I'm sorry, Angela Bassett's the bad guy in this?
¿Cómo se dice?
We saw a little clip of her speaking
Say
where
what?
she goes up to the human bad guy, who we'll talk about in a second. But all of those, the discussion of his design, the discussion of, it was Iron Giant vibes. And I got this great How to Train Your Dragon moment where Haley Steinfeld's character puts up her hand and then Bumblebee puts his face and closes his eye. And the audience was like, aw, like we felt for him.
And it's we get that in the trailer, but I think what this extended clip does is you get a lot more context. You get to know the character
because
a
we
little bit more.
start off in a crazy action scene.
Yes.
And that was great.
Yeah.
And it's not Starscream as we learn.
It was the director Travis Knight saying, we looked at action like, and he was basically shitting on Michael Bay, but being very diplomatic.
But in a very nice way.
Diplomatic,
very smart about it.
Because he was like, we wanted to make sure you could tell who every character was.
Yes.
And
everybody has a silhouette.
I was like, that's some shade at Michael Bay, but go on. That everybody had a different color scheme. I'm like, go on. And
he said, there's no robot nuts. Just kidding.
Yeah.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that. But I wish he did.
Yeah, he didn't say there's no racial stereotypes.
Yeah, there's no
he didn't say that. We don't know. We don't know
yet.
But
in
still,
Travis Knight, I have faith.
The way that we like to brag about animation directors doing live action because we love animation.
Yeah. Right.
So when we watch Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, when we watch Andrew Stanton's John Carter. I like to look and be like, yeah, but the way that they're laying this out, the action, like it's so clear because it's animation brain, because they're storyboarding it to a T, because they know how to tell a story. You always know where each of these characters are.
Everything is worked to perfection.
And Bumblebee was hiding from the bad guys. John Cena's the bad guy. They show up. All of a sudden, this jet flies up when they kind of corner Bumblebee. No, here's a great moment. There's a mine shaft in the side of this mountain, and Bumblebee's running towards it. And we're all movie viewers, and we're like, he's going to make it in that thing. And then he gets hit by a car and tumbles like he got hit by this Jeep. And so as a movie audience, the storyteller's like, okay, you think he's going to go in there? And then, subvert your expectations. So Bumblebee's like, you're like, oh, fuck, he didn't make it in that thing. So then he's cornered.
Adds to the tension of the scene.
To the tension. He's cornered, and then a jet's flying, and we know what that jet is. But Cena's like, who called the Air Force? And then all of a sudden, they shoot, like, you see like a missile. And it's the Decepticon logo. And like blows up all these army guys, and this robot just shows up and starts beating the shit out of and that was Justin Theroux.
Drops him off a cliff.
Beats the shit out of Bumblebee, drops him off of a cliff.
I don't think that's Justin Theroux.
Well, he was the red one, because I think or is the blue one him? Was that Angela Bassett?
No, that was somebody else.
I think that's the jet. You're right. That's the jet. Thank you. So he gets dropped off of a cliff, and we're like, no. And then we see the sequence, the sort of origin of Bumblebee, where like him as a robot form is trying to scan,
and you see like Bumblebee vision, and it's like shutting down.
It's like Terminator 2. Like he was losing his power and shut down.
Life forms,
his memory core goes away, so he forgets who he is. So then that becomes the premise of the story, is that he hides as this VW bug. Haley Steinfeld is an 18-year-old who's like, she's a mechanic and she's working in this junkyard, sees it, she tells the guy, like, here's the deal, if I can get it to run, it's mine. And he's like, that's no deal, you just get this car.
You're basically just taking my car.
And she's like, I'll work here every day for the summer. And he's like, all right, I'll work here every day for a year. Come on, it's my birthday, I just turned 18. And he's like, all right, happy birthday.
It's yours.
It's this great moment. And then as she's driving away, because she gets it to work, the guy talking to his coworker's like, that thing's not going to work, man. Yeah, it's a death trap. Have a good time. And she's driving out, like these great story moments. These great story moments. So we're already on board. We're watching this clip. We saw a little bit of John Cena. We saw him interacting with the two, the Angela Bassett and the Justin Theroux, and they're like, we can help each other because they're trying to track down this dangerous criminal, and it's Bumblebee. And it's Bumblebee. And then we also saw a hologram of Optimus Prime, but he looked G1. He looked like the cartoon.
And that's what Travis Knight talked about. He talked about how he very much has been a fan of Transformers since he was a kid, and he really wanted to. If you're already going to go 20 years into the past,
you're
going to make a
2007's the first Transformers movie. So 20 years prior is 1987.
Exactly. If you're going to make a movie that's based in that part, in that timeline where G1 was prominent with the prominent Transformers timeline, embrace that. And I love that so much, because I've always felt like, and we worked on on Transformers 3. I have always felt like those movies have made the Autobots and the Decepticons in terms of design extremely complicated.
Overly complicated for the sake of trying to
visual
look cool.
spectacle.
And it didn't work.
The other thing too is that I really loved is when you see Bumblebee fighting this like jet Decepticon. The thing that I love is they really took advantage of playing things a little bit further away. So you get to see more of what's happening. Because I think in, not all of them, but I think in some of the other Transformers movies, it gets sort of chaotic. And I like the fact...
He said he equated it to two robots demonstrating the Kama Sutra. He said that on the panel. I'm like, he's like, robot fucking, okay.
Which is fine. He goes, it's not a movie that I'm directing. I'm would be interested in it, but he goes, but that's not what this movie is.
That's not what this movie is.
So I think for me, the big takeaway for this, and we'll get to John Cena, but I think in terms of the footage, the big takeaway for me was... I love the fact that the approach and the important part of this Transformers movie, if we're already going to tell the origin of Bumblebee, is why should the audience care about this robot?
Right.
And I think for a lot of people who've watched, we've talked to people who've watched these Transformers movies who watch what we do. And there have been some people who are like, I agree, some people who disagree. So I'm really curious to see how a lot of the audience is going to feel about a story that's very much rooted in character, very much rooted, and like the theme of friendship and sort of and being an alien, and like what does that mean? I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. But overall, the footage gave me Iron Giant, Shape of Water vibes,
Spielbergian vibes,
Spielbergian Ambler.
Bumblebee was watching. Bumblebee, they said, has always been the Transformer that's been most connected to humans and has had the most love for humanity. He's watching.
And why is that?
He was watching The Breakfast Club, and at the end, when Judd Nelson did this thing, Bumblebee's in the garage doing this thing, and you're like, holy shit! Like they're just gonna make him a fanboy. They're gonna make him a fanboy of humans. who's been here since the 80s.
And I love those nice little touches that, because it's an 80s movie, they had like, if you look at the Paramount logo, it's like the vintage Paramount logo.
The 80s Paramount.
That stuff's
great. It's like, I love just little touches like that. I'm like, you're really trying to go for like, let's make this feel very authentic.
They're in the world. Like, they are in the 80s, and they're going full force. And this is why I feel like animation directors need to get more gigs like this, because they're in it.
Even if this, we talked about this on the Sony discussion, even if this was something Travis Knight walked into and they're like, okay, you can't just do a reboot.
Right.
You have to do a prequel to Michael Bay's Transformers.
We want to keep these 5 movies canon.
So it needs to be in the 80s. But all of the things that they talked about, it still all felt like creative decisions to help the story, to service the story. So that's why I think we're all on board for it.
Yeah.
They brought out the cast. Haley Steinfeld, lovely. She's great.
Yeah.
And she's such a good actor.
Yes.
And her character looks like we're all going to immediately root for her. Her Charlie Watson character. Then they brought out the kid who plays like her male comedic counterpart. He's kind of comic relief, but he has like a crush on her, and he's going to get wrapped up in the world of Transformers. But he was a cool guy.
Fun.
Cool guy. Then they brought out John Cena.
No. They didn't just bring out John Cena.
They shut it down.
They brought John Cena out.
Yeah. They played. What song did they play? I forgot what they played.
Beastie Boys.
Beastie
That's right.
Boys,
You gotta fight.
Yep.
And for your right.
Yep.
And he went up and down the aisles to party.
If you guys follow me on Twitter, I took a little video of it. Naeem, do we have any footage of that?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
We have the other cool footage.
Like, go on my Twitter. I have footage that I posted. I'm sure if you can find a panel recap, it's really worth watching. Like, John Cena is so great. He's
a showman.
He does.
He's perfect for Comic-Con. This is his first Comic-Con.
Yes.
And he wore a suit, and we were saying, like, oh, what do you know? He knows how to work a crowd of 7,000 people.
Of course.
Because of course he fucking does.
He does it on a weekly basis.
Cena.
He does it on a weekly basis.
Yes.
He was so good with the crowd.
100%.
That I hope he gets to come back and do more movies
He
at
was
Comic-Con.
absurdly buff.
Yeah.
Oh, that suit looks like it was going to rip open.
Yeah, suits don't look good on him. Suits are angular, and he's so huge.
He just should have went with his shirt off.
Yeah.
He just
would have. Muy sexy time in that.
Best part was they had a bunch of cute kids coming up to the front asking
honestly,
questions.
like,
Q&A.
I'm not the biggest fan of Q&As. Halloween, great Q&A.
Yeah, it sounds
so
like
moving.
Yeah.
But Transformers also a very great Q&A because
super cute.
It was a good opportunity because I sort of feel like the 5 Transformers movies that have come before. Yes, kids can watch them, but I also feel like it sort of alienates kids to a certain extent.
Yeah, man.
This to me feels like this is very much all audiences. Let's all go on Bumblebee's journey together.
That's smart. And this one kid went up and he's like, I was going to ask a question to John Cena, but I can't see him. So it's so funny.
It's so good.
John Cena was like, all right, I thought I was an actor, but apparently I'm a human who has developed the power of invisibility. Everyone was like, this is great.
I also love the 2 kids who came up and even asked Haley Steinfeld, how do you balance both things? And she's like, I'm in college today and tomorrow I'm doing a show. And I'm like, man, crazy.
They were all good to the kids,
to
the young people who are asking questions. And there was a guy who he seemed like he may have had like a learning disability, but he was asking a question about, like, he was saying things about John Cena. He's like, I love John Cena because I can just, I love all the memes and everything where John Cena.
Yeah.
And then he kind of caught that he was like talking too much. He goes, I'm going to skip to my question, as if he had like a whole. He's like, I want to skip.
He just wanted to talk about memes.
Yeah, he goes, I want to skip to my question now. And then he asked a question, and he goes, John, are you going to be in more movies? Like, do you plan on being in more movies?
Yeah,
and he was like, well,
such a good question. It was,
and he, but it was great. But then who came in at the end to ask the last Q&A question?
Oh yeah, who came at the very end? We got a little zinger at the very end.
Yeah,
which I love, and I think if you're gonna do this. We talked about Sony and how we feel like they could have done things a little differently. But this was great.
Because I didn't even consider this like a big question.
I don't know.
But the question in the world of Transformers, is Optimus Prime going to be in Bumblebee? Like, I hadn't even, I'm not here jonesing for it.
No.
Yeah.
But then the way they answered it was, we saw him really quickly in hologram form.
Yeah.
They said this is going to be a Bumblebee-centric story.
Yeah.
And at the end, who walks up?
Peter Cullen showed up.
Himself. Yeah. Naeem, roll that beautiful bean footage.
He's smiling. He's having a great time.
Yeah. So cool. So cool. And it's funny, I honestly thought Peter Cullen was just going to, like, not even ask anything.
Travis Knight.
God, so good.
My name is Optimus Prime.
Yeah!
So good.
It's so good.
My name. I could not help but notice my absence in much of your footage.
And he just leaves it at that. What do I do?
It's not really a question, in fairness. The movie's called Bumblebee. It's about Bumblebee. Okay, so it's really his moment in the sun, Mr. Cohen.
Well, in that case, what does an Autobot have to do to get his own movie?
So good.
And look at him. He's such a good
He's
sport.
so good.
He's such a good sport. It's great.
Very question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe we could showcase your emotional range. Why don't you show us, I don't know, joyful exuberance?
I love this.
Rightfully so. I am elated to be here.
He's the best.
So good.
Yeah.
I hope.
Really
look,
good.
if we can just talk about Peter Cullen for a second.
Yeah.
I hope that it is so depressing how in Michael Bay Transformers movies they've had Peter Cullen, the great Peter Cullen, read lines as Optimus Prime that are like, "If I have to kill him, I will." Like these lines where you're like, "That's not Optimus, man."
Right.
They make him this badass, perfect character who's just like perfect
Straight up
fighting.
warrior.
Straight up the ultimate. I'll kill anyone.
Yeah, right.
I would love it if he does cameo in this movie and Travis Knight and the gang have written him some real Optimus-y lines where he comes in and like gives that last little moment of wisdom and we're
Hope
sitting
and
there
optimism
crying,
and
like,
wisdom and just all that good stuff.
and we will see Cybertron in the movies.
Yes, I was about to bring
That
up.
was
Yeah,
confirmed.
that was
We'll see
officially
Cybertron.
confirmed in this panel that we will go to Cybertron. We will, and again, the thing that I really liked about what Travis Knight said was, Cybertron. He doesn't say it explicitly, but he very much alludes to the fact of like the feeling that Cybertron in the original movies, the original 5, or whenever we see it, feels very complicated in its design and look. It seems like Travis Knight is trying to go more into the world of let's make this easy to look at so people can really appreciate the characters, not so much like what's happening in the scenery.
Right.
And I think that's going to be really, really cool. And we talked about the Sony panel and how the Sony panel really didn't reveal much. And a lot of the things that happened in the Paramount panel for Transformers, very similar things. And we talked about, they didn't address whether or not Tom Holland's Spider-Man was or was not a part of that universe, whether or not it interconnects with Marvel. But we talked about how cool it would have been if it did, if they finally would have answered that question, to have Tom Holland come out like Peter Cullen did and say like, hey, Tom Hardy, like I'd be down to make a movie with you and be Spider-Man and you play Venom.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Exactly.
Tom Holland was there.
And even though like in this panel there was no.
Why are you imitating yourself?
I don't know, that's what I would be.
And even the fact in this panel that they didn't announce that like Optimus Prime was getting a movie, I still love the fact that like Peter Cullen came out and it just sort of like ties everything together and it makes Transformers feel like this really big fun universe with all these fun characters. And I don't know, I walked away from that panel being genuinely excited for the movie.
Same.
And everyone's enthusiasm, 100%. Including John Cena, who like did a beautiful job working the crowd. I thought he did a fantastic job. It made the panel so enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree.
And we talked about, how like, man, I really wish they started with Sony.
Yep.
Yeah.
To go from Sony
ended on
to Paramount
and
then ending with like Halloween or vice versa, like, man, what a killer panel.
That would have been great.
It was amazing. I mean, that was a good recap of the panel, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too.
There we go. Good job, guys.
Yeah, very, very good. Okay. Super excited to see what happens with this Bumblebee movie. It comes out in December, which is going to be very interesting.
I'm going to watch it. I'm convinced.
I'm so good. The panel made me very excited for it.
Yeah. Are we going to marathon all the Transformers movies beforehand?
Fuck that.
Okay. You guys want to watch Kubo and the
As long as we have a bunch of Mike Has
Beer,
I'm
watch
down.
all the Leica movies.
Yes.
Actually.
We'll watch Kubo in 3D at my place.
Let's rewatch Travis Knight's movie.
Travis Knight's movies at Leica. Let's watch that.
100%. In the meantime, guys, if you got to read a description or you're in Hall H, please let us know what you thought about the footage from Bumblebee and what you thought about the crowd. I thought the crowd was so into it. They were really eating it up, and it was great to be a part of that. Make sure you guys are also following Hyper RPG here on YouTube. We got a bunch of other content coming out. On social media, Twitter specifically, hyper_RPG, and on Twitch, twitch.tv/hyperrpg. We're doing live streams every single day. Speaking of live streams, Zach is here, so we're going to be doing a lot of those every single day. He looks exhausted and tired. But we're going to have a lot of fun. We've got more content coming, so make sure you guys stick around. And thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate all you guys hanging out with us.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.
Hey, what's up all you tabletop nerds out there? Zach here with a special San Diego Comic-Con announcement. Hyper RPG, Stoic, and Versus Evil are teaming up to bring you a Banner Saga mini-series starting next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Time, live on Twitch. We've got the amazing Andre the Black Nerd, Shovel, Lasercorn, Trisha Hirschberger and Steve Zaragoza as our cast, and the one and only Adam Coble as our GM for this wonderful adventure. This will be a 4-part mini-series coming to you every consecutive Tuesday from 7 to 10 p.m. Pacific time, and you're going to want to get in there and watch it live because you, as a viewer, get to become a part of their caravan, making decisions that will drastically affect the overall story. This is all to celebrate the final installment in the Banner Saga series, Banner Saga 3, coming out on July 26th on all platforms. What better way to celebrate the amazing world of Banner Saga than through a tabletop RPG? We are so excited to bring this to you all. Make sure to tune in live on Tuesday after Comic-Con and every following Tuesday for 4 weeks, but if you miss it, don't fret, it'll be going up on YouTube immediately after.